back, Billiken fans. It's Peter Hale, Zach Miller. This is the Midtown Madness podcast. Pete, it's probably the worst kept secret in our show's short history, but we have some big news to announce.
We do. We've been a little obvious about it on Twitter,
Mhm.
but the Midtown Madness podcast has agreed to a new partnership with Two Men and a Garden, who you would know from their NIL deal with Fred Thatch, local purveyors of salsa, pickles, and lots of other tasty stuff. So yeah, we're really excited to announce that for our upcoming season, I guess.
Yeah, it really does. This show operates on love and passion, but there's not a lot of financial commitment to it, but there's a bit, and this partnership is going to allow us to. It's going to take the financial burden off both of us. It's going to allow us to operate at break even, which is all we've ever really asked for. I mean, it's all I've ever asked for. I don't know about Peter. I can't speak for Peter, but
All I've
um,
ever asked for is salsa, and that's what's happening here. So I'm fine with it.
yes, we're very excited. As I've probably mentioned on the show before, Joel Austin is one of the proprietors of Two Men in a Garden, Pickles and Salsa. Um, Joel Austin and I have great history. Not long history, but 2019, I go up to Brooklyn with the Midtown Madness historian Bo Pamatot and family. After the Billikens obviously beat the Bonnies to take home the A10 crown, I'm standing on the rail at about where the scorekeeper sits. Just down there trying to get close and just see everything up close. And I had talked to them at the pregame party, I believe, and he kind of looks at me. He goes, dude. He hands me this little card with a string or with a lanyard, and he goes, dude, go down there. And I'm like, dude, Chris May's gonna kill me if I'm on the court. And he goes, dude, just go down there. He hands me his all access pass, and the rest is history. I got on the court, got my picture with the trophy. So, absolutely a great guy. Excited to partner with it. Look, I don't, as people who know me, as the people who knew me when I worked at Blockbuster in college and post college with Enterprise. Post college with Enterprise knows that I would think that I'm the worst salesman ever. People at Blockbuster think I'm the best salesman ever. The movie Charlie Bartlett with Anton Yelkin and Robert Downey Jr. God rest Anton Yelkin's soul. Um, that movie was out for 2 weeks straight. Like you could not rent that movie. Like I would love to see the analytics of our store versus other stores because it was gone. So what I'm saying is this: I am a terrible salesman when I don't believe in a product. But Two Men in a Garden is good stuff. It's local, and I believe in it, and it is definitely where you should be getting your salsa from. And I can't say I know anything about the pickles because I'm not a pickle guy. Pete, maybe you can elaborate on the pickles, but the salsa is by far the best tasting salsa.
Yeah, the pickles are great too. Well worth it. They're super fresh. They're exactly what I like. I'm a dill guy. I know
Not a big deal.
Thatch says it's the bread and butter for him, but I think that's a little sweet for me. When I have a pickle, I want the garlic, I want the dill. That's me. So they're great. Strongly recommend both the regular and spicy of the dill.
Pete, we got a show for the listeners today, the Billiken fans out there. Um, we scrambled a little bit trying to reel in an acceptable guest. We had a conversation, and it was if we don't get a guest, fine, but I'm going to exhaust all opportunities, and we've got a great one actually. This one kind of came out of nowhere, but it's really good. Um, and it's going to be worth a listen. It's Who is it, Pete?
Yeah, we've got an exciting guest this week. It's Cam Redding from the SLU men's baseball team, getting ready for the Atlantic Conference tournament. He's coming off a couple of really big weeks. His bat has really come alive recently, and we thought he'd be a great guy to talk to as baseball heads into the championship here.
Yeah, no, I think we both have really enjoyed getting to know the program, following the baseball program way more than we have in the past. And yeah, I love this team. The more I get to know the players' names, the more I get to see these individual stories. I'll tell you, I just want to first of all I want to give a shout out Trevor Harris. Um, Awesome dude. Got to chat with him a little bit on Saturday evening, and it was funny. He mentioned that he was in the store the other day. He recognized me from the show, which automatically you're an absolute legend in my mind if you recognize what the podcast and everything. He goes, I watched a couple of your shows, and I was in the store the other day, and I bought 2 Men in a Garden salsa, and he goes, I couldn't remember where the hell I heard it. I couldn't remember where I had heard that brand before. And then I remembered. I was like, it was your show. I was like, that's awesome. Like that's the kind of stuff that just kind of, it's shocking to me, man.
Yeah, yeah, and that's even before our partnership was official.
Unbelievable. But anyway, we're going to talk to Cam Redding, and it's coming up right now. All right, Billiken fans, as we noted before, we are joined by Billiken baseball player Cam Redding this week as SLU baseball prepares for the A10 Conference Tournament in Davidson, North Carolina. We have the good fortune, as I just said, to speak with Cam Redding, who just 1 week ago was named Atlantic 10 Conference Co-Player of the Week. He should have been just the Player of the Week, but because Co-Player of the Week sucks. And one of college baseball's National Players of the Week after a massive series at Rhode Island, just raked. His hitting led SLU to a crucial victory in Game 3 against Dayton this weekend, sealing the series win and a 3 seed in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Redding leads SLU in batting average, at-bats, runs, hits, and probably a bunch of advanced stats we don't actually have time to mention here. And he's one of 2 SLU players to have appeared in all 50 games this season. Cam, welcome to the Midtown Madness podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is going to be awesome.
So we just we both, I think Pete and I both watched the Cardinal game today, and Yadier Molina ends up on the mound in the 9th inning. I got to know, who in your senior class is the first guy to go on the mound if Hendo's like, we don't want to throw anybody. Like say on Tuesday against St. Joe's, you go in the 9th inning and you're up, 25-2. You go in the 9th inning, Hendo's like, I'm not wasting another arm. Who in your class, non-pitchers, getting on the mound?
That's a really interesting question because this past weekend we played Dayton. It was kind of iffy. Like in Game 3, yeah, as we'll probably get into, we played 2.5 games in one day, and there was the argument like, are we gonna rest a bunch of guys because our seating was kind of already set, and in the locker room before the game, we're like, who's getting on the mound? Like we need to save pitching for Tuesday. Who's going to be that guy? A couple of the names came up were Matt Happ, our everyday shortstop. He was one of the big guys that we were talking about. And then on the flip side of that, also the pitchers were like, I want to hit. If you guys are going to get on the mound, I'm going to hit. And we talked a little bit earlier before this. You mentioned Trevor Harris. And Trevor actually came into SLU as a two-way, his college career as a two-way. He started at Baylor, and he was a hitter, and he's always wanted to hit. He always takes swings when he's bored at practice or whatever. So there was kind of a flip side of that, but unfortunately nothing happened in the game. But maybe this week, hopefully we're winning by a lot down in Davidson, and we can see what happens.
So who would it be? Give me a name. Give me one. Matt Happ, you think?
Matt Happ. Alex Peterson was another guy we talked about. He's a Mizzou transfer who we got this year. Definitely somebody. It definitely wouldn't be me. I know that for sure. I just wouldn't throw strikes. I would just try to throw it as hard as possible, and it wouldn't go well. But probably Matt Happ or Alex Peterson were the guys we were talking about.
Hey, so congrats on your graduation this weekend. Most athletes, most college athletes have the ability to kind of cut loose a little bit. that weekend, spend some time with family and friends, participate in all their senior week stuff. Baseball players, unfortunately, aren't so lucky. So I'm wondering what's it like having to prepare for the postseason as you're also trying to kind of be a college student and maybe, enjoy your graduation and everything around it.
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting question because the past years prior to this, we're always playing during our graduation. So what was cool yesterday and on Friday we finished our series. So we did have the weekend to spend time with our families, our teammates and whoever it was. But they do like a small ceremony for us, which is actually kind of better because in the big Chavetz Arena when there's I don't know how many people are in my graduating class, probably 2,500 people. Um, it's like us 16 who I think are in there, and like Chris May and Janet will really like do a short speech or whatever, and we kind of just like walk up, get our little. I think I actually got it right here. If I can find it, maybe I don't. Oh, but it's they give us a Bachelor of Baseball
Oh, wow.
before we get our real
That's
degree.
dope.
So that's what we got yesterday, and it was cool because I mean, obviously you're just with people you really care about that you're with every day to graduate with them in a way and have parents be there and take a bunch of pictures. It was a cool little ceremony.
Nice.
You mentioned Trevor Harris transferring from Baylor. You mentioned the players transferring from Mizzou. Seems like Hendo has really found a niche in bringing those guys in from the so-called power conferences. Is that a strategy you think he really employs, or is that just kind of how things worked out?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question because obviously COVID's changed a lot of things. Like if I had COVID didn't happen, I should be done with my eligibility, but I have another year. And so everyone I mean, you guys, I see it on your Twitter talking about transfers in the portal and stuff like that. It's the same thing with baseball. Like there's just a zillion guys in the portal and it's kind of a pick and choose at some point. And obviously for Mizzou has had a tough couple of years last year. And I think there was a lot of guys in the portal for Mizzou, and being close from Mizzou, it's easy to grab those guys or how it may be. So I think as coaches, you have to go out and get players, and it makes it easier when guys who already have proved that at the college level, especially at big Power 5 schools.
So circling back to this weekend, it seems like the schedule against Dayton could not have been any crazier. Initially set as a Thursday to Saturday series, I think.
Which is weird in itself.
Yeah, which is already weird because you're used to Friday, Sunday. But then now all of a sudden you've got game one short, cut off early, postponed in what, the top of the 6th or something like that for rain. And then it looks like Saturday is going to be a bad weather day. And it was, because I was seeing tweets and other stuff about other cancellations in the area. So now you have to play 2 1/3, 2.5 games on Friday to get them all in. How was that experience?
Yeah, let me tell you. I mean, we play Thursday through Saturday because the conference tournament starts Tuesday. So basically to rest pitching and rest guys, just because you travel. We're leaving tomorrow at our flight's at 7 a.m. So
Godspeed.
Yeah, exactly. So but the whole day on Friday, like we learned Thursday we were going to play 2.5, and we were like, oh my God, like no one's ever done this. Like we don't know how this is going to work. Like are the everyday guys going to play all 23 innings? I think it was. Like it was just like it was nuts. But kind of just like at the end of the day, like kind of what we realized is like after this we're done. Like we can enjoy our graduation, we can be with our family, whatever it may be. And I think that was cool about it. But a funny thing that kind of happened in the morning of it is Darren texts me and another guy, Kyle Fitzgerald. He texts like information to like send out to the team, and he says like, all right, weather cleared up, we're playing just finishing the game and playing one more game. So we're like, all right, that's nice, like we can play Saturday morning. And 10 minutes later he comes back and we're like, never mind, we're playing 2.5. And we're like, wow, we just were on a super high, and now we're just like, oh shoot, like here we go, like now we're really doing this. So but we did it, we won the series, and it was cool. So
it was an interesting series because Dayton seemed to have this real chip on their shoulder when it came to like They just got so emotional about everything. I mean, there was a fan that was going to get thrown out of the down the first baseline. I think they had to calm down the pitcher for for Dayton. They wore the clowniest uniforms in the history of baseball. I mean, and Trevor alluded to the fact that these two teams just really don't like each other, and that's Dayton slew though.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And I think, um, I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't like them, and the way how they play the game and how the way I should say, like, it's just they're very talkative and they're very chirpy, and that's not how we play, and that's not we don't want to get in guys' heads. We want to cheer for our guys and stay with our guys. And I think Darren's preached that ever since we got on campus, and to see that, I mean, I think it's a really bad look for a program. And there's obviously through the years, there's really bad blood, I think, and not bad blood, but like,
I mean, it's the Arch Baron Cup,
team.
right?
Exactly. Like I know Darren and their head coach don't see eye to eye at all. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen explicits being like said multiple times between them, but that's what it is. And but it was a fun competitive series, but it was also fun to beat them 2 out of 3. So that was good.
You know what? I got a quick question to go back to the Rhode Island series because a lot of times when you watch these road games, we're super lucky here in St. Louis. I'm going to shout out my good buddy Colin Surrey for
he does a great job. I like watch back, and he does a great job. Like he's by himself for 3.5 hours. I don't know how he does it. I really don't.
He was by himself for 11 hours on
exactly
on Friday. But no, I told him like, look, if you do good work for my beloved Billikens, I'm gonna pump your tires to anybody and everybody who'll listen. So
yeah.
But we're lucky to have Colin Surrey because he knows what the hell he's doing. He understands everything. But you watch these other games and it's not great. As far as commentary goes. Rhode Island, there was a couple weird situations that never really got explained. It was with that Zach Hernandez pitcher. What happened with the pitching card?
So it wasn't a pitching card. So I was actually up. I was at the plate. He came in, and I think it was a pretty big situation. They was running on second and third, and they bring in a new pitcher, and I get to 2 strikes on him, and Darren goes and talks to the umpire, and they actually checked him for pine tar on his hand to see if he was using pine tar. He wasn't. But I mean, the next pitch I got a hit, which was good. It would have been really bad if I struck out. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But it was, I guess it was a weird situation because I mean that happens. Like guys use pine tar. That just is what it is. It's just, I mean, even
no.
And there you go. You know, it's just the things in baseball that people use and pitchers use to get an advantage. But again, and no one shies away from it. I mean, everyone knows that. So. Yeah, that was that situation. But there were also a couple weird situations, I think.
Did he go to his mouth on the mound? Is that what that was in the second one with a balk? Because they called it a balk, but like the only thing I saw was he went to his mouth.
No, it was actually the catcher in the second situation. So as a catcher, I catch too, and so there's 2 different masks. You have like a hockey mask, Yadi or Molina wears like the hockey mask, and there's like a 2-piece mask. So in the 2-piece mask, you can like rip it off. And the catcher like blocked a ball, and you can't use your equipment to like move the baseball. So he grabbed the 1-piece mask and tried to like basically push his mask, the ball into his glove. So basically that's a base in a way.
Interesting.
So
that's something I had no idea about.
I didn't know it until last year. So
by the way, here's to 2 out of 3 from Dayton.
Here's a 2 out of 3 from Dayton. I love that.
So you mentioned you catch. I know you play first base. I know you sometimes DH. Do you have a like a favorite position to play?
I mean, no. Like I've kind of played. I like to describe myself as a utility player. I like to be kind of versatile in a way. I spend most of my time like catching and playing first, DH. I played 1 game in right field this year. I'd imagine I'll start to play more first and right. I think my best tool is my hit tool. I think that's kind of what's kind of kept me here and been great. So honestly, I'll do whatever I like doing because it's kind of fun to just sometimes go take fly balls, go take ground balls, go catch a bullpen and just mix it up. I enjoy kind of mixing it up and not just sticking to one position in a way.
Coach Hendrickson has talked with us about recruiting the Chicago area. This is apropos of absolutely nothing, and how it's one of the places he's made a priority. What other schools were you looking at before deciding on SLU, and what ultimately led you to commit to Hendo and the Billikens?
This is a really interesting story, and I think I could get into the details, which it might be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So basically,
we live for stories.
Yeah, it's a good story. So I'm 16 years old. I played hockey and baseball growing up, and I told my dad, and I was like, you know what, I want to play Division I baseball. That's the goal I want to play. So I quit hockey and I go all in. I'm working out all the time, all this stuff, and I end up going down to south suburbs of Chicago. So I'm a north side guy, and to play for this travel team. It's called Top Tier. It's a well-known travel team in the Midwest, and I ended up making the top team. It's great, and I get on the top team, and with being on a good team, like the scouts are there, and I start talking to some people, and I had a couple of visits and a couple offers in a way. Like I had to get in somewhere. I went on like a recruiting trip and had to go do a camp or whatever. But by the end of the summer, the whole team was committed and I wasn't. And I was kind of sitting there like, what is going on? Like I didn't have a great summer, but also like I put all this work in and it didn't work out. But by the end of the August, it's August, and I'm actually sitting. We're playing a tournament down here in St. Louis in August, and I've never been here in August until then, and it was 105 degrees all weekend. And I'm sitting there. We're playing at SLU, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting at the end of the bench, not having a good game, and I'm like, I start to tear up on the bench, and I go, wow, this dream's not going to come a reality for me. And 2 weeks later, I get a call from then recruiting coordinator, Will Bradley, who was with the program for about 10 years. And he goes, Cam, like, we need a catcher. I don't have any money for you, but would you be willing to walk on? And I took a week, and at the time I didn't realize, but my now roommate, my 4-year roommate, one of my best friends ever, Scott Youngbrand, who's the Sunday starter for us, basically asked him to take me in a way. And I wouldn't have had a spot here without it. And I ended up committing a week later and walk on, and now I'm here 4 years down the road, and it's pretty incredible. It's really cool, and I'm really thankful for the university for giving me the opportunity. So
that's amazing.
I love that.
Did they eventually work out a scholarship deal for you?
Yeah. By the end of my sophomore, junior year, I ended up getting a scholarship. Cool. So
you're a hockey. So you're Cubs, huh?
Yeah, I grew up a Cubs fan.
Blackhawks too. You're hockey.
Oh yeah. Big Chicago sports.
We won't hold it against you.
It's okay.
It's okay. I like Barstool Chicago. They're fun guys.
They are fun guys. Yeah.
It's when I was looking, when I was doing some research for this, I noticed your efficiency is up. In terms of, I think you're at a career high in batting average, on base percentage, scoring runs. Did you change anything heading into this season in terms of your approach or technique or anything, or is it just kind of gone that way?
Yeah, it was. I think it's a really interesting question. I think you're always trying to make adjustments, but for me, like I got off to like probably the worst start of my career. Like it was like I was dumbfounded, but I didn't know what to do. Like I went through all like kind of like my cues and what was going on, and I started off really, really bad, and I would have like really good weekends, really bad weekends, and then nothing was flowing. And until Rhode Island, I kind of felt like myself in a way that going into that weekend. And I think constantly as a baseball player, you're making certain adjustments to better yourself. And sometimes I thought I tried to make some adjustments this offseason, and they kind of made my swing a little long and kind of loopy. And but I think simplifying is kind of the biggest thing, especially even in Division I baseball. And you see guys in the big leagues, guys who are super simple allow you to make contact in the best way. And I think even this offseason going into it, I'm going to try to even simplify my swing more, just for try to hit more balls hard and see what happens. But in that way, it was a weird year because I had to mess with a lot of different things because I didn't feel great going into the season. But I think everything's constantly changing as you go through a season, a year, an off season.
So you mentioned you'll be working on that this off season. Does that mean you're going to use that extra COVID year and come back?
Yeah, I guess this isn't really. I haven't really signed anything out, but I've told the coaching
We're
staff
we're breaking mood. We're breaking news on the pod.
yeah, I'm coming back for my 5th year at SLU.
That's great.
It was kind of a toss up. Like I think I talked to Darren earlier in the year, kind of what I wanted to do, and maybe if I wanted to test a Power 5 school or see what happens. But in the end of it, like I think it says stuff about staying for a 5th year, and I mean I've met my best friends here. They've given me this opportunity, and I've kind of found a home here at SLU, so that's kind of cool.
And then will you also work on an MBA or what's that move?
Yeah, I'm starting the 1-year MBA program in June 15th. So kind of how I wanted to do it is like, if I'm going to be here, I want to make sure school-wise I'm doing something that's going to be worth my time. And it's kind of the best of both worlds to get everything done, never have to come back to school once I start my business career, whenever that may be, and see what happens. So it's exciting.
Nice.
One of the weird quirks about baseball and softball too is the scheduling fluctuation, fluidity. It's very dynamic. You guys have made a lot of schedule changes on the fly and played a compressed schedule with games shuffling around due to weather and travel. Do you think this ends up being a good preparation for the conference tournament, or is it just something you deal with and is all part of the becoming a veteran and becoming seasoned in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, obviously playing baseball in the Midwest, the weather's going to be bad. But I was talking to Darren a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, is the weather like, because for us this year, it's been unbelievable. Like it's blowing 30 miles an hour. It's cold, like rainy every day. Like I've never seen anything like it. It's been annoying in a way. Like it's gotten to that point, but it's also been like, as a team, like we're kind of like, this is us. And I was just talking to my roommates earlier. We were looking at Davidson's weather, and I mean, it's supposed to rain kind of all week. So, I mean, honestly, I think it bodes well for us in a way because we're used to it. We're used to the adjustments, and I guess we'll see what happens. So,
I want to take that Davidson note because that team is so good. What makes them so good and just a tough team to beat?
yeah, I mean that's exactly how I describe it. They're a really good baseball team. I mean, that's just that they have really good players, and honestly, I don't know what happened because they came in here last year and the last weekend, and I like some of the arms they were throwing their 7th or 8th bullpen guy, and he was topping 95, and I'm in there in game 3, like what is going on? Why? How does like this guy? They didn't have a guy throwing over 92 last year, and I mean, props to them because they're a good team, and but again, we beat them on Friday night. We played a really good game, and I think our best matches up with their best, and it's baseball. Anything can happen. So we'll see. But what makes them a good team is
they got good players.
They got good players, and they're developing their players well, especially after a bad year they had last year. So we'll see. College
baseball is such. Sorry, Pete. I got it on the brain. College baseball is so frustrating, man. I've enjoyed so much this season getting to know you guys and everybody's name and everybody's abilities and everything, but it's so frustrating because you get past the starter, like we looked at the St. Joe's game, right? You guys go down 6-0 in the first inning, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this sucks. I'm not going to turn that game on. Then I'm like, wait a minute, this is college baseball. Just get to the bullpen. Like, how do you keep like your head in that like constantly? Because you constantly have to be like, well, yeah, we gave up 7 runs that inning, but again, if we get to the bullpen, we could mess them up.
Yeah, it's a total thing, and especially it's mid-major divisional baseball, so there's not, we're not playing Vanderbilt, and I've played Vanderbilt, and I mean everyone they throws, they're really good, and I'm not saying everyone. I mean, everyone has good arms. We have great arms, and but I think it's just overall just continuing to wear down, and we talk about as hitters like continuing to wear down pitchers throughout a weekend. Like let's say you're on Friday, you wear a starter out for 4 innings, that pays dividend on Sunday because they're already wasting their bullpen arms on Friday in a way. So I think over time, you just have to work in counts and all that kind of stuff helps the weekend as a whole kind of in your favor in a way. Because again, it's college baseball and you never know what can happen. And that's anything. Baseball can happen anytime. So
Yeah, I mean, you look at like what is it, UMass, who is just dreadful. You have a pitcher, and sorry, UMass, you are. But like you look at Peter's like, Jesus Christ, figure it out, Zach. But like you look at those games where they played VCU and they lost like 28-2, and you look at their other game where they lost big to I can't remember who it was, but you have one guy who got shelled in that game in one game for 7 runs. He comes back and gets them out of the jam in the next blowout game. So it's so inconsistent. I don't know how Hendo does it. It really has to be a love that's greater than like the love I have for my mother, because I'm not gonna sit at a ballpark for 12 hours watching my mom play softball. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean,
I love my mother, but I'm not. She knows that.
Yeah. Jokingly, we say it too, like Darren, like as a Division I baseball head coach or any baseball head coach, you got to be kind of nutty and this is in the best way. And it's because you're putting your life in baseball players who are 18 to 22, non-professionals, and games are crazy. It's just what it is. And no one likes a long game. No one does. Everyone loves good pace of play. And I talk about it all the time, but also it's something you can never match at the field because it always turns into a long game. So it's kind of, you just kind of go with the flow and try to stay focused throughout all 9 innings, or maybe plus, maybe more.
Or 23 innings.
Yeah, or 23 innings. Exactly.
So you guys have the 3 seed heading into the A10 tournament, and you're going up against 6 seed St. Joe's in the first round on Tuesday, a team that you've beaten twice this season. And I'm wondering, how do you like the matchup there in the first round?
Yeah, I think it's a good draw. We talked about it as a group, kind of how we want to play. And I think, I mean, again, like it's so weird because you're used to playing series, but so you're going to get their best and they're going to get our best. And I mean, obviously being on this team, we think our best is better than theirs, but they can really hit. They got some guys who can mash, and if we keep them at bay, and I know our team can really hit. So we'll see what happens. And I think going in, again, it's the playoffs, so anything can happen, and we got to show up on Tuesday, and hopefully we start off on the right foot. I'm really jacked up for it, so it should be
nice.
fun.
And it's double elimination too, right? People got to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so if you lose if you lose the first game, you got to win like 6 games in 4 days. So it's vital to win the first game. It's nearly impossible to come back and go win it all if you lose game 1, because the losers bracket, that's tough. It's hard. It's hard in the losers bracket. So, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Has Hendo ever told you guys about the conference tournament? I want to say it was early 2010s. Bryant Cotton, has he told you about how many pitches that dude threw? That dude threw like 130 pitches in a game. Like, I can't even imagine that. Like, now, like, and they ended up winning the tournament. It was in like, I don't even remember. It was his beautiful ballpark. He'll ask him about it, but I mean, I did a podcast before this one, and we got to talk to Bryant, and interesting dude. Like, he's half inning off the innings record for a season.
Oh, that's gotta be tough to look at.
Oh, dude, I texted him. I'm like, dude, does this eat at you every day? Do you know about this? So yeah,
I'm sure I mean, again, college baseball, like at that time, like you have guys like, especially we have a lot of seniors and a lot of senior arms, like they're ready to give it all they got. Like there's nothing left to keep hold on, like saving arms. So we jokingly say like they're going to throw their arms out this weekend, but that's in the best way, just because, I mean, you got to leave it all out there. And I'm sure however many pitches, probably like 140, which is kind of honestly normal back then. Not really normal, but if you guys rolling, why not?
Yeah.
Talk to me about Darren Hendrickson and what makes him perfect for this job and building this program. I mean, you look at the things he's done. I mean, everything that baseball facility is. I mean, it has its shortcomings. We all know that. I've discussed them with him, and we've acknowledged it. It's not his fault. It's not. It's not anybody's fault, perhaps, but. Talk to me about what he brings to the program, to the team, and what makes him so successful at this level.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because obviously he's been here for so long and he's been coaching for so long. So I mean, obviously the easiest answer is experience. Like he's seen everything, he knows everything, and but it's also like who he's put around himself. I think his support staff and the assistant coaches that he's brought in have been have been huge for just the team in general, and he knows what's good for players and knows what's good to make a better program. And clearly, I mean, once he got here, winning ways were high, and I'm thankful to be a part of it because it's such an illustrious career. I mean, he's probably at like, I think he got to 900 wins like 2 years ago, so he's probably around like 950. I mean, that's you don't win 950 unless you're doing something right, and I think it's a credit to him because he gets the best out of us every day, and he expects for us to give him his best effort, and that's what we got to try to do every day. So he's the right man for the job, and I think he proves that year in and year out.
So a lot of times when we have various SLU athletes on here, we like to ask them, give us one, because playing in the A10 can be kind of an adventure. When you're in St. Louis, especially. Give us one good travel story from your career at SLU, like something that
we know something went crazy a couple weekends ago, but
yeah,
we love a good travel story.
We feel like every team's had at least one experience where everything kind of went sideways.
God, that's such a good question. I mean, there's so many stories.
We got time, man.
Yeah, I mean,
we got a big show to fill.
There's so many stories. I mean, let's think. I mean, this year we had the worst travel day.
All right, go. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I mean, we were flying out to Fordham for the first opener, and so we get to the airport. It's like 10 a.m. Flight gets canceled, so we're not getting on a flight till. I got a good one after this, but flight gets canceled, so we end up going back to St. Louis. We're sitting in our apartment for 6 hours. We don't fly out till 9 o'clock. That flight gets delayed 3 hours. So we don't fly out to Fordham till like midnight. We get in there at like 3 a.m. Finally, I mean, Fordham, I'm not a huge fan of New York City, and just that place. And
it's good for like a weekend.
Exactly. And like
Fordham
campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
Super pretty. But like, we jokingly say like outside of Fordham, it's like a third world country. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the Bronx, and it's kind of hard to get to from the airports. Because it's north of the city, so it's like or north of Manhattan, so you kind of have to cross in and then go north. It's weird.
Yeah,
I flew in to New York City through LaGuardia over Halloween, and man, if you fly in there on trash day. Like, have you ever seen Trash Day in the middle of New York City?
I mean, I guess not.
It's
in
like,
no alleys.
They literally just stack the trash up on
gross.
By the way, there's a great story about why there's so much scaffolding. If you go on YouTube and just look up New York City scaffolding, there's a great YouTube video on that. If you're interested,
just look it up.
It's super interesting.
But anyway, back to Fordham.
All right, go on. Yeah.
So Fordham. So basically, we fly in. We're there at 3 a.m. We drive. We have to bus from LaGuardia to our airport or to our hotel, and we end up getting in at 5:30 in the morning. We sleep until noon, and we play a game at 6 o'clock. We end up winning the game, and that was pretty awesome. We ended up winning the series, which was pretty cool. But I think the better of the two stories that I have is from my freshman year. It was just like the classic like tip off to a year. So we were in Fordham again. Of course we were, right?
The Bronx.
And so we lose in the conference tournament. And so Janet Overly gets us on like 5 different flights out of there. Each player is with like a one coach where it's like 8 of us with a coach and we're on different flights. And also I'm a freshman this time, so it's like super weird, like guys' careers over. It's like really emotional and you're like, this is weird. So it's like kind of hard to handle, you're kind of hard to manage it. So every flight gets out besides our flight. So we have like 8 guys. We're stuck with one of our assistant coaches and we are sitting in Newark Airport not knowing what to do. So we end up getting a hotel. We have a flight at 4 a.m, get back to St. Louis. We're in our exit meetings by 9 a.m. and then we're all home by like 5 that night. So, I mean, it was like the biggest turnaround of like losing, guys' careers are over with, flight canceled. We're hanging out in Newark. The first day we're free from baseball for 4 months. And then we're back home. And that was that. It was just the craziest. And just, I mean, obviously there's stories in between that I probably can't share, but just of that night in general, it was memorable.
It reminds me of, we had a couple basketball players on from like the mid 90s when SLU went to a couple tournaments, and they talked about how they lost in the tournament in Wichita in like an 11 a.m. game. And then they were back in their apartments by like 3 p.m. And there was just no time for sentimentality or to let any of that sink in. And it sounds like you guys kind of had the same experience,
Totally.
with seniors there.
Yeah, totally. And especially like, I mean, you feel it in high school, but I think when guys' careers are really over, when they've spent so much time playing, it's like, it's a lot. And I mean, obviously, that's obviously going to happen. Like that's baseball. And
right.
I think, my best friends are leaving next year, so it's different. It's going to be different, but it is what it is. So, but I'm excited for Davidson and see what happens.
Yeah.
You guys made, you haven't yet made the tournament since you got to SLU. What would it mean to you to go on and win this A10 tournament and go to the NCAA tournament?
I mean, it would be memories for a lifetime. It would be awesome. I think coming off a year we had last year, which is probably the hardest year of my life. Like I haven't lost that much in my life, and it was really tough. I think not even just for us players, but for the coaching staff too. Like it was just kind of just standing like dumbfounded, like what are we going to do to change this? Like how is this going to work? And credit to Darren and the staff, like for bringing in guys to make us better. And I think we are a lot better. And I think like, especially like kind of how I thought about it is our Dayton game 3 game, we sat some guys, like some everyday guys, just to get them off their feet for playing every inning. And we came out beating Dayton handily. I think it just shows testament to our team. And like, after standing out there for 8 hours, I think, I know we can do this. And I think that's kind of cool, and it's a cool feeling. And I hope, we can continue that in Davidson, and, meaning like, just like the experience of going to somewhere in a regional with a massive setting, you think of the Arkansas of the world, you think of the Vanderbilts, you think of these power top 5 teams that are going to be hosting regionals, to be a part of that and to experience that. At the end of the day, it's that the baseball, you're going to remember your bats. It's going to be about those memories and experience that. And that would be really special. And hopefully we can get it done.
So I obviously, as we talked about off the pod, and I'm sure we'll mention on the show when we're done here, but I'm kind of I do endurance competitions. I no longer really understand. Like I played baseball growing up, but I stopped when I was 4'11", 100 pounds soaking wet, like in high school freshman year. Nobody wants a right-handed pitcher who's 4'11". They really don't. I can't blame the coach for cutting me. Would have gone pro if he wouldn't have cut me, by the way. Just to let you know. But by the way, when I got that jersey and put that on, that was like a dream come true. Like I turned into like a 10-year-old again. It was ridiculous. It was so stupid. But I'm curious, like, how does that work with, it's such a different environment because I'm such a slave to my Apple rings, to paying attention to how many calories I burn, endurance, stuff like that. But I've lost that idea of just playing a sport and then working out. What's the differences in like preparation, fitness, all that kind of stuff? I'm curious because I no longer have a frame of reference for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it gets kind of not misunderstood, but I think it's again like people it's hard to like know
You
what
have
we
like
do.
that
And
pool holes guy from Dayton who was like, a chunky dude. Like, I mean,
yeah, no, I mean there's like baseball, there's different bodies, but also like I mean, I think our team as a whole, we're a lot of guys. We take a lot of pride in our strength and conditioning. I think that's a massive part of who we are as a team, and just part of our preparation. Because in the weight room, it's obviously it's a lot of power, it's a lot of legs, it's a lot of glutes, it's a lot of rotational power. Just because that's like what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And we have a lot of guys who are really into that stuff. Like I love working out. Like if I could work out, I mean, 5 days, 6 days a week, I'd do it, but I just don't have the time to. And also like, I can't be that sore. But I think kind of how, like, yeah, it's just, and like, especially in season, working out is something that's kind of, it's hard to do because you need to do it, but you're also so tired where sometimes it's hard, but it makes you recover better. And there's a great strength staff led by Jake, who just got hired from Oklahoma State, and he does a great job getting us ready. And
you're also kind of standing around for
totally.
a lot of your day. So
Yeah.
I mean, like now that I'm thinking about, like, I used to eat sunflower seeds constantly, and like there's so much salt and so much like when you're playing baseball, you're eating something like that's not like that's not good. Like and you're there for 12 hours at the stadium. Like you've got snacks in the hitting facility that you got to go out and get. You're eating Jimmy. It's not the greatest, situation for fitness and health.
No, it's not. And I think you mentioned sunflower seeds. Like I can't eat sunflower seeds. Like because I know like I just get so dehydrated, and just like over time you're just like, ooh, it just kind of makes you feel kind of crappy. But
I haven't eaten them in like 10 years. I miss them so bad.
And that's just like, I've kind of gotten over it. But I think what we've kind of learned, and especially at this level, like you're not in big leagues, like, I mean, they're getting steaks, chickens, lobsters, whatever they want, whenever they want, and I mean, credit to them, they deserve it because they're damn good baseball players. And but for us, it's just basically about maintaining, and that's part of the weightlifting situation is, we're doing that to maintain our bodies. And I mean, everyone, especially if you're a position player, like you're going to lose weight. Like we're at the field for, I mean, on a regular game day, 6 to 7 hours, maybe, like, that all that time in the sun, moving around, standing, you said, like, you're just sore from that. If you're just standing, watching a baseball game, like that's a long time, like, and you're tired. But I think it's just part of it. And I think, it's once you get back, it's nice to like eat right. And like,
it's so interesting because I will die on the hill that college softball is like the greatest TV product that nobody cares about. Like it's an hour and a half. You get in, you get out, next game, right? Like women's college World Series is a great freaking watch.
Yeah.
Like it's a great watch. Like I'm like, if people it's fast paced. Like I loved when you guys were playing 7-inning games. I was like, this is
you loved
great.
It. We loved it too.
Okay, so let's start a movement. Let's start a movement,
I mean,
man.
It's just like
Cam, let's start a movement. Let's go seven innings college. It eliminates the horrible like 23-5 games. Okay, shortened rosters. I'm sorry, some people don't get Division I scholarship. Like you would have been SOL. I'm sorry. As a freshman, obviously, whatever. But no, it's so great. Like you get in, get out. Like next game, like it's perfect.
I agree with you, and I mean, I think 9 innings you have to play because the guys in the big leagues do it. But like especially on double headers, like what's the point of just like being out there for so long? It's just like at that time, it's just like
and bullpens are so brutal. And no offense to our bullpen guys, but like, I mean, you're like it turns into a midweek game as soon as. By the way, how do you get through a friggin' midweek game, man? How do you do it? Like, I would just give up. Like, I don't know if I have like the wherewithal or the mental fortitude to get through it.
Midweek games, and Darren talks about it, like he always says you just got to play the schedule. Like you wake up and you play the schedule, and the midweeks aren't fun, especially like when you're flying back on Sunday night late. You got to get up and go to class on Monday, and then you go into and then you travel again for a midweek. It's hard, but I mean, I think that's what creates like good teams in a way. Like I think we're a really good team, and I think we show up on the midweek, we play well, and they're battles, and they're usually never short games. They're usually kind of a grind, but that is what it is, and I think you gotta play it and see what happens.
So let's say I guess I'm wondering, like when you deal with those midweeks, you're on the road a lot, does that ever impact, like, do you feel like it's a tough time to be like a student? Do your grades take a hit, dealing with all the travel and whatnot?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think everyone there's some time management skills that need to be learned, like especially early on. I mean, now that I'm a senior, I kind of understood how to manage it in a way, and you're kind of in your kind of desired study. They kind of understand, like professors understand like that you're traveling,
Right.
but I actually found it like, for me, it's kind of easier to study because you're on buses and you're on planes where you like can spend time doing it in a way, and you have to get it done that time. So there is definitely some learning curve to it, but I didn't think it was that. It's not the hardest thing to do, but you definitely got to spend some time doing it. You can't mess around or waste time doing other things.
All right, one last question, and then we'll let you go. Say you guys go ahead and win the A10 championship. You go to the NCAA tournament. What big time program stadium would you love to go to play at?
That's a really good question. Wow, So I mean, this is like I'm trying to think of the top 16 seeds right now. And we actually
like Ole Miss, Arkansas would, like I went to Ole Miss and blacked out drinking beer over a 10 hour period.
Yeah,
The last time they went to the tournament, like somebody broke a styrofoam cooler over my head, but I asked them to because I'm a psycho. And
that's all right. That happens.
That
happens.
That's a good
It
time.
is what it is.
Mississippi.
But yeah, Ole Miss is definitely like one of the top schools that you kind of look at and like that looks pretty cool. Arkansas is up there. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be hosting. I don't think they're hosting, but I think Arkansas, Oklahoma State's one. They have a sweet new stadium. I think any of them are super cool, and I think just the whole experience would be super awesome. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Because then it's going to be packed, and there's going to be crazy fans that cheer on college sports in the best way, and that's what makes our sport and the NCAA and amateur athletics pretty cool. So we'll see what happens.
Well, as I said on Twitter, give me a reason to leave town next weekend. After this weekend, obviously, I'd love a reason to travel anywhere. Thank you so much, Cam, for joining us. This was so much fun, man. We really appreciate it. Pete, any last things for Cam before we let him go?
No, just good luck this week, safe travels, and hope you guys have fun and play well down there.
Appreciate it. I thank you guys. It was awesome talking to you. And also what you guys are doing is cool for Billiken athletics. I think a lot of guys in the athletic department talk about it, and I think it's starting to get some good notice. So I appreciate it.
Cool.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cam.
Yep. See you guys.
Thank you. See you. Pete, I couldn't be more impressed with Cam Redding. Excuse me. Shoot. No, Cam Redding, just so forthcoming. And that's really all I've ever asked of our guests is just, tell us stories, man. He was outstanding.
I didn't realize what a great story he had, that playing college baseball felt like a stretch at the end and like he had to walk on. I mean, because I've seen like his production the last couple of years, that does not scan as a guy who had to walk on. Shows you how tough it is out there in the non-revenue sports and just how much work it takes. But he's a really easy guy to root for, and hopefully his hot hitting continues down in Davidson.
I can't tell you if I'm going to cut this or not, but, listening to him talk about being at the end of the bench, it just and this is totally unreal. Like, these two situations don't match up at all, but because my dumb brain just connects random things. Like I always think about that scene from Glory Road, Bobby Joe Hill sitting at the end of the bench. And then he gets in the game and Don Haskins sees him, right? Like it's one of those things. It's, you don't know where your break's coming from is what I'm getting at. I'm not saying it's a similar situation. I'm just saying you never know when you're going to get your break.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. And he has made the most of his opportunity. And
But yeah, both of them are sitting at the end of the bench, kind of upset, not getting, what they think they deserve or earned. But they end up getting, they end up successes is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, he's put together a really nice career, and it's not over yet.
He rakes. Thank you again to Cam Redding, and good luck to the Billiken baseball team in Davidson, North Carolina this weekend. They will play at 2:30 Central Time. That'll be on ESPN Plus, and they'll be playing St. Joe's. And if you didn't notice, we had a bit of a technical difficulty. I'm no longer wearing my headphones. I'm wearing another pair. I hope it doesn't change the production values for our listeners. Pete, let's get into men's basketball, though. Enough about the bullshit behind the scenes. We got some scheduling news. We're heading to the Billikens tournament at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. We got a little news about who we're going to play, and it's good. It's good news.
We knew that this event was going to have Maryland, Providence, and Miami. We didn't know who we were going to play, but it was announced that we will play Maryland on November 19th, and then it's going to be either Miami or Providence, depending on how the results go the following day. So Maryland's the one opponent who's guaranteed out of those three. This is actually only the second time in SLU history we've played Maryland. The other one being the 1994 NCAA tournament loss, the one that we have talked to, multiple guys we've interviewed about that game, the game that they faced future NBA first overall pick Joe Smith. So that's the only other time SLU has seen Maryland before.
The most forgettable name in professional sports history, Joe Smith, because there's like 5,000 Joe Smiths.
He was named before anyone knew Google would be a thing.
Yes. Miami, too, is an interesting name given what's transpired with the transfer portal, NIL. It's quite a saga down there in Coral Gables.
A lot of talent, but not without drama. And then Providence, too,
sounds
awesome.
Exactly like Miami.
Yeah,
that's a city.
Very befitting to the
Horatio
the city,
Kane.
Yeah. Providence is another one. They were awesome last year, especially early on in the season. And they were one of the best teams in the Big East last season. Mm-hmm. They're expected to be down a little bit, but they're still going to be pretty competitive.
I'm trying to remember, did we play Providence at the Gotham? We played Providence recently though, right?
I remember
seeing with that Virginia Tech. It was after Virginia Tech we got our ass whooped.
Well, I remember seeing that we've only played Providence 3 times in program history. And I'm trying to remember. I know, didn't we play Pitt in that? Is that who you're thinking
Pitt
of?
was the one we played midday. It was like a day game. It sucked.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
I think we played Virginia Tech. We beat them, and I was like, we don't suck. And then we got our butt kicked by Providence the next night.
So that was 2017, November 17th, 2017. You're right. It says here the Billikens are 1-6 all time against Providence, and that was the last one. But we are 2-0 against Miami, although the last game was in December of 1988. So,
before I was born.
Oh wow, yeah. Not before I was born, but I was pretty young. I don't recall that game.
Yeah, Grandpa. No. Those are 3 very cool names. Like I'm excited about any of those. I'd be happy. Yeah, I'd love to play Miami because I think, again, look, I've had many text messages, and I think you and I have talked about this. Like, this podcast is great. We talked about it in the intro. Like we operate like this is a labor of love. All I ever asked was to operate this at a zero cost. And this podcast, you know, we get between 100 and 200 listens. If the Billikens are as good as we think they can be this season, there's a lot. Doing this podcast the future is very exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because this again, as much as I think I do a great job and you do a great job, like it hinges on how good this team is.
Yeah, we need them to be good. We need Enders to be. I mean, you're right, and this is one of those events where a lot of seasons SLU would have looked like the clear number 4 seed, and in this season in this event, these are 4 pretty evenly matched programs. I'm not claiming that SLU's the best out of all of them or that we're all right on the top 25 line, but this is going to be a really competitive event. It's a sneaky strong early season MTE.
I think this might be the strongest MTE since. Pete, do you want to guess what MTV?
I don't know.
Did I just say MTV? I just said MTV. MTE is the Anaheim Classic, the 76.
Oh wow, yeah, the one that we won.
This might be the strongest we've played in. Maybe the Gotham tournament in New York at Madison with Virginia Tech, then Providence, but. I mean, you look at that Anaheim Classic, you had Oklahoma, you had Villanova. Did we beat Villanova?
We beat Villanova and Oklahoma, yeah.
And then one more, I believe, too. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I'm blanking on
but we beat 3 really good teams in that tournament. And that's when we arrived on the national scene. And Travis Ford's squad this year, you know, has a chance to announce themselves. They're getting all the accolades. John Rothstein with an H and an IE is on the Billiken bandwagon.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he has us right around that top 25 line. I think whatever happens with the rest of the transfer window, whatever you want to call it this year, could bump teams up or down a little bit, but as of right now, he certainly thinks that how does he put it? The A10 goes through St. Louis this season.
Yes, it does, and Atlantic 10 fans, especially Dayton fans, were a little miffed about the accolades we received. We had to like defend the accolades a little bit, didn't we?
I mean. Did we? Who like Dayton?
We didn't have to.
Yeah, no.
But I like to pretend we did because it makes for a better like narrative.
Yeah. So
we deal in narratives, Pete.
And Dayton fans were, you're right, miffed at the narrative that the A10 title goes through St. Louis this season, but they just a couple days later got some accolade that they have one of maybe the most talent in the league or something like that. And I didn't see one SLU fan whining about that. Actually, somebody tweeted, like, is this the part where a bunch of SLU fans react in outrage that somebody said something nice about Dayton? But SLU fans just mostly ignored it, which was fine because, honestly, who cares? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of writers making all kinds of predictions as the season goes on. But, yeah, I genuinely don't care.
Yeah, and Rothstein gets a little shilly a lot of the time. He likes to shill for whatever coach is the flavor of the month. So,
do you ever see Rothstein being like, I don't know about this fit or this?
Yeah,
coach.
No, he's on the like annoying. He's annoyingly positive.
Yeah, I mean, he's carrying water for everybody. He's trying to sell T-shirts out there.
Well, don't forget to stop in at the that wing spot whenever you're in New York. I have no idea what it is. I don't know. Yeah. He stumps for that wing spot. I think it's closed actually. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Forget Rothstein. Transfers, man. It's kind. I laughed because we get 2 transfers, and then the next day I'm like, well, this day sucks. There's nothing going on. Like it's kind of like you go out. It's like a hangover. You're like, oh, what do I do now? Like. But we got 2 commitments, man. We have addressed the need that I was most concerned about, and I'm sure you were concerned about, and everybody else in Billiken Nation was concerned about. We filled the void, like we're Ozzy Osbourne.
We have
Wait, I
bigs.
don't think that's the actual name of the song.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we have
Into the
bigs.
void.
Um, we had just one big man on the roster, really. Heading into
I was starting to ask if Jimmy Bell could maybe be convinced to come back. I was starting to ask if Martin Linson
yeah,
would reconsider his
yeah.
professional career to come back.
We were certainly starting to sweat it out there, but we didn't quite know what the staff had. The first one was Jake Forrester, and these happened within this like under an hour. Jake Forrester is a grad transfer from Temple. He's 6'9", 225. So he's just got one season of eligibility remaining. He
That's all we need,
averaged,
baby.
that's right, 16.4 minutes per game, 5.5 points a game, and just under 4 rebounds per game this past season, which was down from his numbers the season before, for various reasons. He had some illnesses, he took some time off for what he called mental health and physical ailments. He got sick after that. None of it was COVID related, but he was struggling with some ongoing stuff throughout the season, just nagging illnesses and stuff.
I like our program for someone who has had issues. Like I feel like we have a very compassionate program.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think he just needed a break. It seemed I couldn't find much detail on it other than it seemed like he needed a break, and that he had a couple illnesses, injuries that were nagging, bothering him. Probably had to deal with some stuff off the court,
yeah.
and so he wound up missing a couple months. But this is a guy. I mean, his minutes in production the year before were really solid. He's an excellent offensive rebounder. I've seen a couple of our contemporaries on Twitter kind of slice up his per 40-minute stats and some of his other advanced stats, and all signs point to him being a really good offensive rebounder. So he should get kind of Linson like minutes this year. I think Linson was in kind of the high teens when he was healthy. I kind of expect that here for Forrester, but you're right. I mean, this fills a big hole, and this is kind of like our what are we going to have when Okoro gets in foul trouble? It really answers that question. But
Yeah, no. Sorry,
the good news though is he's not the only one. 2 in the span of an hour, right?
Oh, I mean, like I said, and I've texted you, I've texted the rest of the sluts, the Sleep Twitter think tank, that it is without fail that when I go into the gym and turn my phone on silent, I'm going to leave the gym. And as soon as I turn it back off silent, I'm going to see like a million Billiken news. Like Billiken news is going to drop all. It's the equivalent of us recording this on Sunday. Like tomorrow, we're going to find out that we found ourselves a backup point guard, which we'll get to in a minute. But there's another player that committed right after.
Yeah, and this one was a little more of a surprise because we knew Forrester was on campus. Forrester had put on his Instagram story earlier that day photos from his visit and said not committed yet. Normally, when a player does that, they're not going to turn around and commit a couple hours later.
I tried to tell you it was a typo. He meant pot committed.
Yeah,
he was a big poker guy. He loves rounders. He's a big rounders fan. Big Edward Norton fan. Big fan of the Incredible Hulk.
That's right. I was a little surprised by just because that's normally how it doesn't shake out. But this one was a little more surprising. We knew we had gotten involved, but Momo Cisse, I hope I'm saying his last name right. If
Momo the monster.
Yeah, it goes by Momo for short. He's every bit of 7 foot 245. He's huge. He's out of Putnam Science Academy in Connecticut, a prep school up there. He came over to the U.S. In January of 2021 and played out that semester at Hillcrest Prep out in Arizona. He was in France for a few years before that, but he's originally from Senegal. He's just got a tremendous physical profile. He's huge. He blocks shots. He rebounds, finishes really hard, tries to dunk everything he can. We call that
Division I ready.
Yeah, and he runs the floor well. He can even step out and shoot it a little bit. There's plenty of footage out there of him shooting from outside the perimeter. So he's definitely going to be the number 3 this season because he's the new player, and he's got 2 seniors that he's sharing the front court with. But both Forrester and Okoro are going to be gone in a year, so he can develop kind of going up against them, get adjusted to the speed of the college game this season, and then things open up for a guy who is absolutely physically ready for college basketball. Because one of the factors here is because he's spent time in a couple different countries before coming over to prep school, before coming here. He's already 20, so he's old for his class. About a year older than you would normally see for a guy who's at a 50-year prep school. So physically, mentally, he should be ready to go. He's a little raw. He's going to need to learn the speed and kind of the technique of the college game. And once he does, this could look like a real steal for SLU.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I think I've decided he's Momo the Monster, which is a really deep cut Missouri reference.
Yeah, that's a Six Flags ride from back in the day, right?
Yeah, well, no, yeah, and then there was an indoor football team. The long lineage of random indoor football teams. You had like the St. Louis Stampede, and then you had the Missouri Monsters. So yeah, Momo the Monster. He's like Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Bigfoot. It's like St. Louis's Bigfoot or like Loch Ness. Mythical. It's like the Billiken but scarier.
right.
Right. Unless you're a child who's afraid of the Billiken, and then it's the same thing.
That's true. I've seen the Billiken frighten children before, for sure.
That leaves us with one scholarship. Well, first of all, how do we feel about the front court? I'm excited. Are you as excited as I am about the front court? Because like this is the deepest front court I think we've ever had. And like, yeah, we had like DJ Foreman. I think maybe the only thing that comes close is Hassan, DJ, and Rashad.
Yeah, but I mean, when you just look at last season, and then
We needed a third.
you've got Okoro, you've got Linson, and you've got Traore. Now you've more or less got the same setup in terms of who's where, because we've got Okoro number 1 again. Now number 2, it's a question of, is Forrester going to be as good as Linson? Because Linson was, he was a good player.
He was super efficient.
Forrester's a better rebounder. I don't know if he'll be
Is he a
more
better
efficient
defender?
scorer. And then, but I think number 3, I have a hunch that Cisse is going to be stronger than Traore out of the gate.
More impactful.
So I think probably this is a slight upgrade overall at the front court from where we were last season. So given what we were last season, I do feel good about it. I going 4 out, 1 in is kind of, I don't know if it's ideal for this. Yeah, the reason that kind of is a struggle with this roster is because it puts more pressure on your wings to handle the ball, and we really don't have a lot of natural ball handlers out there except for Collins. So I think that kind of transitions nicely into our next question is, if you've only got 1 scholarship left to give, what do you want to do with that?
I think I mentioned it right before we got to this. I would really like a backup point guard. And I know we don't, it's unkosher to talk about, players that aren't in the portal, but he was a Billiken at one point. I wish we still had old guy that's down at SEMO.
Phil Russell, yeah.
Phil Russell. And also I've said Rayshawn Taylor over at SIUE.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be a great I watched that Collinsville East St. Louis game. That was the only time I saw TJ play in high school. I loved Rayshawn Taylor. He was fun in that game. He was awesome.
Yeah, but I mean,
even
if it's not going to be specifically one of those guys. It's somebody in the mold of one of those two, for sure. That I think like it's not really a hard pitch right now. I guess the question is, are we going to go with youth or are we going to go with experience? Because we could bring in another guy like a DeAndre Jones, who maybe ran the show at a smaller program and is looking to kind of get a chance at an NCAA tournament somewhere. Maybe we get a guy on the way down from a power conference who's looking for more minutes. or who's looking for some kind of opportunity. I think there is a real opportunity, no matter who you are, to work alongside Yuri Collins to back him up, or go out there at the same time and give us a second ball handler as Collins. And we're, given what Collins offseason has been like this year, kind of testing the NBA waters a little bit. I don't think he's going to come back for a fifth
And
year.
the
I don't.
NIL waters.
I mean, he could break every assist record there is if he did, but I don't think he's going to come back for that fifth season. So I do think for either a veteran like grad transfer type, or for a younger guy, maybe if there's still a good point guard out there, and I think there's a lot of talent still out there because of the glut of excess players in college basketball right now from the COVID year. I think there is a strong sales pitch to be made, like, hey, go play with Collins for a season, and then it opens up.
Then you're the guy.
Right. So I think there's a strong pitch to be made either way, no matter who you want to get in that spot. But I think we do need a second ball handler after Collins.
Speaking of Collins, I want to talk a little bit about him specifically. He actually made an appearance on a podcast that was hosted by his high school coach. And I'm blanking on his name right now. I apologize. I didn't even have this in the notes. But did you
Brian,
get it? Yeah, it was Brian.
It'll come to me. Yeah, no, I have not actually watched it. I saw a link to it, but I didn't see it until this weekend, and just haven't had a chance to get to it yet.
Brian Turner.
I wanted to say Taylor, but then I knew that was the guy at
Rayshawn Taylor.
Yeah, well, there's a Brian Taylor who's recruited a little bit, and he's I think he's still committed to Milwaukee. But anyway, yeah, I haven't seen it yet. What do you think?
A lot to learn from this, man. Baseball was his first love. Didn't know that he was a big baseball guy. He played baseball growing up. It was what he loved to play, and he actually posted on his Instagram the other week. I think you might have saw it, that he was standing out in the out by the outfield wall, mm-hmm. and watching the game, watching the Billiken baseball team, and just said he missed it. And I mean, apparently he was a hell of a baseball player. But it was interesting because they didn't really get into the transfer market, and they kind of danced around it. And I thought that was interesting. Obviously, look, guys, I'm a Billiken fan. I grew up with this. This is very emotional for me. It's an emotional connection. I have a lot of feelings. It's tough for me to kind of repress when I'm angry, when I'm upset, when I'm frustrated with Billiken athletics, Billiken basketball. And look, Yuri Collins is my point guard, but I'm still not happy with how things went this offseason. I'm not. It's frustrating. It was thankfully it turned into positive things for what you'll see on the production values for our show. It led to that, and I'm appreciative for it. But I'm still not. I'm not over it, and it's gonna take me a minute. But I was surprised at some of the stuff he said. He was, he didn't really address anything. It was very much his story going through high school. So if you're looking for his kind of coming of age, history, basically what we would do if we were going to interview him in 5 years. The first part of the episode, that's what this podcast is, and it's interesting. It's super interesting. I'm just jealous we didn't get it first.
Well, and maybe we will get him later on in his career when we can, I don't know.
Yes.
Get some more time to sit down with him, but I wouldn't expect him to get into all of the drama of the last couple months. He's not going to do that while he's still around. He's just not. I just don't see that happening.
What I found interesting was that he talked about in his commitment and the recruiting process leading up to SLU is that, you have a lot of people in your ear that don't really know what's going on. And they're trying to influence you, and that you kind of see where that kind of can transfer over into what happened over this spring, right?
Yeah.
Like, because the idea is that people get in your ear and maybe try to sway you to somewhere else, to other things. And I was just, it really, I didn't really know how to take that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I'm always interested in that. That players have to deal with that. There's so many people who feel like they all kind of want something. And
I
I
wish
don't.
people wanted shit from me like that. Jesus.
We have nothing to offer.
I
Um,
know. I wish I had that much to offer.
hey, stick with these triathlons, man. Maybe
Oh
someday.
god, I only improved my time by 8 minutes, and it was because we had wetsuit legal race. My hips were up. I was streamlined.
There you go.
Um,
But no, I'm always curious in that dynamic, and hey, maybe we'll have him on in a few years, and we'll be able to go into a little more depth of things that he can't talk about at the moment.
Absolutely. Let's move over to baseball a little bit. We talked a lot with Cam Redding. Unbelievable kid. Super forthcoming. Like I said, it's all I asked for. If you're foul mouthed, I love that too. But he was just forthcoming and very, very open to sharing his experiences. And Pete, Cam Redding had got some accolades this week. We mentioned it in the intro, but let's reiterate for the people that may have skipped over it.
Yeah, so six, I guess a week ago today, if you're listening to this when it drops, he was named the A10 Player of the Week, co-Player of the Week, because I mean, why? And then he was one of Collegiate Baseball magazine's Players of the Week after batting, and this looks crazy, 786 with 11 hits, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 8 runs scored in that Rhode Island series. And the Rhode Island series was crazy. A lot of runs on
Yes.
both sides there. But he more than anybody else filled it up. And like we said, his hitting continued against Dayton. That third game, the rubber match against Dayton, was really his that won it, his bat that won it. Um, so he's been great, and we're really hoping that carries over into conference tournament here.
By the way, I can truly relate to 786 because 78.6 is how I graduated from St. Louis University. Um, um, on the 17th of this week, or on Tuesday, the 17th of May, um, Carbondale canceled the game with them, the midweek game. Look, let's be honest here. SIUC canceled it because they're protecting their RPI. That's 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 like the new thing, right? And this is
Mm.
I still think that this is remnants from the 2020-2021 season where people realized how easy it is to cancel things. Like nobody
Yeah,
cares anymore.
yeah. We kind of passed
Nobody's up
the
in arms
Rubicon
anymore.
with COVID.
Yeah, nobody's up in arms about cancellations anymore. It's like going to the movie theater. Nobody knows how to act anymore.
Yeah,
Um, it's weird, like baseball's quirky like that, in that you can cancel because of weather or outside factors, but and you can use those factors as an excuse for something else. There's a lot more ways you can rationalize a cancellation. Whereas basketball, like, I mean, the only thing you can do is be like, earthquake. Like I don't like you. There's really nothing out there on indoor sports, but baseball and softball, for whatever reason, you can just cancel.
hmm
It's odd. It's completely different.
right.
It's a different world, and I don't know how. Like we said on the interview, like really don't know how Hendrickson deals with this.
Well, I mean, he had to deal with
It's a
more of it.
love.
He had to deal with more of it a couple days later with weather. Let alone teams just deciding to cancel on him. But yeah, you
I
just deal with it and move on.
I'd really like to know when the last time 3 games were completed in one day between two teams, because that is exactly what happened on May 20th, 2022, between the Billikens and the Dayton Flyers.
Yeah, this was pretty wild. So like we talked with Cam, We had the 19th through the 21st, Thursday through Saturday. Again, already kind of an unusual setup for baseball because you're normally going Friday, Sunday. And so they start the game on the 19th. They get to the top of the 6th, and SLU's got an 8-3 lead, and then the weather gets a little out of control. So they decide to pick the game up the next day at 1. And then as Cam went over, they were like, hey, we're gonna play both of those games, and then we're gonna have Saturday's game. And all of a sudden it's no way, Saturday doesn't look very good, so we're gonna go ahead and throw that game on top of it. So they played almost what would be called a triple header on the 20th. It was pretty close to 3 in a row. And luckily it went their way. Overall, both the conclusion of game 1, which they ended up winning 12-7, and the series went their way.
Yeah, it was quite a day. Big win in the first game, Pete.
12-7. They came back with an 8-3 lead, and like Zach has said, it's college baseball. Literally anything can happen. Matt Torino really was the star of this one. He homered twice. I don't think we've had a player do that yet this year, 2 in a game. Goes 4 for 5 on the day with 4 RBIs and 4 runs. And then Grant Fremion got the win in that one. But Zach, unfortunately, in game 2, the Billikens just couldn't get the bats going in this one.
Yeah, the way after our talk with Cam Redding, it's kind of like, okay, so what? Like, that's kind of the funny story. Like, the funny thing about talking with these baseball players is baseball's such a different sport in that it doesn't matter. Like, it does, but it doesn't. Like, it's about saving what you have for, the A10 tournament. It's so different. It's weird.
It really is more of like a win the series approach as opposed to sweat it out game to game. Like, what's our strategy for these 3 games, not how do we win this game? And sometimes that means, putting yourself in a position where you're pretty sure you're only going to win 2. And that's fine, generally, unless you're like a top team or you think you've got, kind of like an at-large resume kind of thing. You just want to put yourself in a really good position for a conference tournament seed. So that's kind of what happens sometimes. And, again, Matt Torino drives in the only run of the game for SLU here. It was an RBI single in the 6th. Scott Youngbrand took the loss. Although there were 4 different guys who pitched 2 or more innings each. So it was a little bit of a staff effort. And 2 other guys actually gave up more runs. He just happened to give up the first one, unfortunately. And then immediately they got into game 3, which was supposed to be the following day.
Yeah, this was supposed to be scheduled for, I think, 6 o'clock. I was shocked because I was able to make it down there for this one. And it was a beautiful night for baseball, man. You couldn't have asked for better weather in the evening. The Billikens come out and they take this one by a decent margin.
7-2, and Tyler Harris comes on with the win. Ryan Surin picks up the save. SLU took a 4-0 lead into the 8th, and then Dayton got 2 back before SLU put it away with 3 more in the bottom of the inning. Cam Redding, 2 for 3 RBIs in this one. So really his runs alone got the win here. So well done by him and SLU to win a big game that really, this series had seed implications for them, and they came out on top.
Yeah, you mentioned Trevor Harris, and of course, if you didn't listen to the Cam Redding interview, but you're listening to this, what are you doing? I don't understand it, but that's fine. You listen how you want to listen. But again, shout out Trevor Harris. Got to chat with him a little bit towards the end of that 3rd game because he was done pitching. Listens to the show. I hope he listens to this episode. Super nice kid. Hell of a story. Well, come on the podcast, Trevor. I know you're listening out there. Come on our show after you graduate and let's talk about your story. Because, started at Baylor, took a year off of college, finishing college at 24. I can relate. I took a long time to graduate college too. So, But yeah, no, great talking to him. And then, of course, we need to shout out the production crew for the ESPN Plus broadcast, Pete. Just a tireless effort. Not only the production crew, but the SIDs too. Like the media relations, the scoreboard operator. All these people spent 12 hours on Friday working a game. Like, that's just brutal. Nobody works 12 hours, man. Like, except for nurses. And they,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, unless you're in the medical field,
like, unless
you
you're
know,
in like a, I don't
or if
even
you're like
know.
a cop or a fireman
Yes.
especially, you know. But yeah, no, it's incredible, and the work that they do for what is not a huge audience, but it is a very loyal, interested, devoted audience. Is really excellent. So
Sounds
yeah,
like
just
what we do.
yeah, to an extent. Yeah, that is pretty accurate there. But we've got the A10 championship at Davidson coming up the 24th to the 28th this week, Zach.
Yeah. The final record for the Billikens, 28-22 overall. Once again, a Darren Hendrickson squad wins 25 games. Um, just a great achievement every year. Hendrickson stays steady. I mean, they had some struggles last year, as Cam Redding pointed out, and they made the adjustments. They got players, and Hendrickson turned it around this season. I think you and I talked about it early in the season. I thought about bringing it up with Cam, and I really just didn't want to do it because that just seemed like a negative thing that I didn't need to bring up. But we talked early in the season. I think I texted you. I said, "Man, I really like they were struggling." I said, "Man, I don't want to see this season go to shit because I love Hendo. Like I think Hendo's so loyal to this university under so little support, and I don't mean that as an insult to anybody. It's just how things are. But Hendo's been so loyal to this program and so like he just bring like you look at the improvements that have been made to the field since he's joined. I mean, the turf in the infield, the hitting cages and the like the wall, like the added padding to the wall, looks like a real baseball field now. Obviously, there's a lot to still be done, and I'm sure Hendo knows that, and we've talked to him, and he's that's on his list, and he lives for this university and this program.
Yeah, and they really did string together a nice season that could have gone either direction really early on. I think this is a team that's got a lot of balance. I think there's a lot of players who can kind of wear a lot of different hats to help them win. I think throughout the season, it wasn't like they were kind of leaning on one or two or three guys. It could have been anybody's game on any given night. But yeah, and they finished 14-9 in conference, which is good for a third overall seed. So they'll
And
start
and they
out.
very well could have won that series against Davidson. That series against
Yeah,
Davidson could have
yeah, that
gone
was a
either way.
close one. That's right, and that's something that didn't really happen to Davidson this year, is losing a series in conference. So Davidson's obviously the 1 seed. SLU as the 3 seed will start out against 6 seed St. Joe's on Tuesday at 2:30 Central. SLU was 2-0 both at St. Joe's this season. Game 1 of that series was canceled due to weather, and then the winner of this gets 2 seed VCU. The winner of 2 seed VCU and 7 seed Richmond. VCU has actually been the hottest team in conference, winning 11 straight games going into the tournament, and that will be on Wednesday. If SLU wins, the loser goes down to the second chance portion of the bracket, which is double eliminate. The whole tournament's double elimination. I really encourage everybody to kind of go take a look at the bracket, which you can find on Atlantic10.com. Go to baseball and check out championships. The bracket is really interesting. Like Cam said in our interview with them, it's really a gauntlet. If you lose this first game and then you have to win, you have to win a game on Wednesday the next day, you have to win 2 games on Thursday, you have to win another game on Friday. It is really a wild path that you have to go through if you lose, really at any point, but especially that first day. So the first game against St. Joe's is really crucial in this one. So, but yeah, take a look at the bracket. I encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited for this tournament, man. Like, I I've gotten so much entertainment out of following this baseball team and just finding another way to be a Billiken fan. And I hope that people follow that path. I really would like, that's one thing. Like, we're not affiliated with the athletic department. We're not marketing for them. We're just Billiken fans with a passion, and I love to talk. And Pete's got a passion for recruiting, and I think we bleed white and blue, man. And it's another way to express the passion we have for our alma mater and our Billikens. And I encourage anyone who's a basketball fan who listens to this to really take a look at these other sports. Find something you can connect to, because there are so many of these athletes out there that are representing where you came from, especially if you're an alumni. They're representing your school, and they're doing it with all their heart and all their commitment. I mean, you look at, like we talked with Cam Redding, like this kid didn't know he was gonna play Division One base, didn't know if he was gonna reach his goal, and I mean, he talked about it his 5th year. He said he could, like, yeah, I could go test the waters for. I mean, he explicitly said I could test the water for Power 5, but like I'm coming back to SLU. Like, that just shows a bunch of that. Every Billiken fan and every Billiken alumni should take that as just a direct positive reaction to their alma mater and them as Billiken. Does that mean, like, can you help me out? Like, you know what
No,
I'm getting at.
I think you said it already. Yeah, I think you said it all right there.
It's a compliment to not only Darren Hendrickson and his staff and the team he's put together, but it's a compliment to the school. It's a compliment to Janet Oberly, Chris May. It's a compliment to what they're working towards. And it's a compliment to us as alumni, that guys want to stick around and play that 5th year when they could go and do anything else. He could go make money at Worldwide Technology or hit the minor leagues, but he wants to stay at SLU and finish out his career and help us win an A10 championship. And that's all. That should be celebrated and that should be appreciated. And I hope Billiken alumni, Billiken fans tune into this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think you're right. And speaking of tuning in, I think we've got a little bit of exciting men's soccer news to discuss. Zach, what do you know about the Bronze Boot game?
The Bronze Boot game. It's always on a Tuesday, and it'll be September 13th. And it is going to happen. It is going to be the first game at Centene Stadium, home of St. Louis City SC. And this will be the first soccer game played at Centene Stadium. And I cannot think of a better way to open up Centene Stadium with the most historic St. Louis soccer rivalry.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. And I think
it is the perfect opening game, Pete.
I think the 1980 Bronze Boot game in Busch Stadium has the all-time college NCAA soccer attendance record, which is, I believe, 22,500, if I'm not mistaken. And that happens to be the capacity of Centene Stadium. So
you think that was a coincidence?
No, I think the architects designed it for that specific
SLU grads. SLU grads of like parks or whatever.
It was going to be a totally different number, but they were like, we'll index it to the 1980 Bronze Boot game, and then and then we'll open the new facility with the 2022 Bronze Boot game. But it's a great way to christen the new stadium, to get some game action in there. I just saw an update that from 2 days ago that the stadium is still on schedule to open in July or be completed in July. So a September game would be perfect there. I'm sure there'll be other events and whatnot before it opens up. And the MLS team doesn't start playing there until 2023. So this will be a great way for anybody who
Phil
has
Collins will play a
any,
concert or something.
any interest whatsoever in soccer. This will be a great way to see the new stadium. And yeah, to see a great rivalry game and to see what should be a really good SLU team again. So
This will sell out, right? We're
it,
convinced.
it's got to, because I think there's
There's
enough people who are like, I don't know what they're going to charge to get in for this game. It's not going to be an MLS ticket price though, right? It's going to be a pretty
They
low.
should. They freaking should, because there are going to be enough people that just want to get in there to check it out.
Whatever they're going to charge for it, I think it's going to be. I think there is going to be a lot of demand for people who are so excited about the upcoming, MLS project for St. Louis. They want to get a peek at the place, and what a way to do it. Maybe a game that doesn't have super high stakes for a lot of people, but who just like good soccer and want to see the stadium. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a great way to do it, and certainly a high stakes game for SLU sports obsessive like us.
Yeah, are you gonna make the trip in for that? Can we try to should we hit up, see if we can do a pregame?
Tuesday
Pregame
night
show?
is a tough one for me. I can't
I know.
I can't make any promises, especially because my kids will be in school in September. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one.
We'll play it by ear, and we'll see what we can come up with. A little bummer of a news though, on the transfer end. Mason Leith is heading to Kentucky. We're gonna miss his mullet terribly. The kid just he just had swagger, and I'm gonna miss that. And I think he brought a confidence to the team that just showed easily. It was very evident that he was confident in himself, confident in his game, and I think it's a decent loss, and I'm surprised.
Yeah, and Kentucky's a top tier program within college soccer. I think I texted you his mullet will fit in nicely down there.
Shot at the South.
But then I remembered I'm from Missouri, so it's
Depends on whether you're northern or southern. It was split in half back in the day.
Yeah, Missouri Compromise is actually a good nickname for a mullet. But anyway, Leaf is out the door. It's one thing I notice about when you have a transfer in non-revenue sports, it always feels like a complete surprise because we don't actually see like the transfer portal itself and like all the names in there. So we don't actually see the announcements until the thing happens, So it's not like we found out months ago that Leith was going to transfer and this happens to be his destination. It's just like
it was probably just Kentucky. That it was his degree. Like it literally was probably like it was an education. Like that's the funny thing about non-rev sports is it's not necessarily all about athletics anymore. Like basketball, football, it's about playing time, it's about coaching. Yeah. And sometimes, non-rev. I mean, at the highest level of men's soccer, it is about playing time and whatnot. But you forget that there are other factors at play, and we don't. Right. Again, we don't know why he did it, but he's headed to Kentucky, and we'll see. We'll see this roster come September.
Yeah. Yep. We'll miss him back.
August, actually.
Right.
By the way, shout out to Kevin Stoll, assistant coach Kevin Stoll. I ran into him today. They were out after what I would imagine was a tournament at Gallagher, or a Gallagher-esque tournament. Saw him out at a restaurant. So when I was picking up a pizza, so shout out him.
All right, Zach. We've got one more piece of news, and then why don't you take it home? The Champions Center groundbreaking is this Tuesday, May 24th at 3:30 p.m. The public is invited. So why don't we get a nice little crowd out there to support the athletic department as they break ground on this thing? It should be a nice event. Hopefully the spring weather holds up for a little bit to give us a clean event and maybe a nice sunny sky for this thing.
It's super interesting though because it's going to change the landscape of this episode's been a lot about baseball. It's going to change the landscape of the outfield. Beyond the outfield wall of the baseball stadium. I mean, it's going right in where that, you've got the Fred Weber lot. It's going to go between the Fred Weber lot and the Billiken statue, that Drury Plaza or whatever it's called. So it's gonna bring a whole new look to that area of campus.
It is. I think that, and you and I have talked about this before. I think there's kind of a lot of wasted space on that side of campus. I think that they, could either build out the athletic facilities a little more or whatever. I think it looks a little too suburban office park in terms of the landscaping. So putting it, I don't necessarily mind
Way,
using
way
some of that.
to way to dime me out for all the times I've used that with other people. I stole
Well,
that from you, and then you're just diming me out on that one.
no, that's I wasn't giving my. We've both talked about that before, but anyway, I think it's going to be transformative on that side of campus, and I know everybody's excited to have it up, and it's really a statement piece from SLU. So I'm glad to see that going up, and after that, maybe we can do the baseball and softball stadiums. Maybe give Herman a little update. On the grandstands. And
Yeah, Herman, man, Kalish has big plans from what I
yeah,
understand. Like, I mean, he really wants to, you see, like we talked about Centene Stadium, it's got St. Louis and City on the seats.
right.
Kalish wants to do St. Louis, like, the whole state. He wants the whole stadium seated. And he wants to do St. Louis on one side, City, or St. Louis Billikens on the other. He wants to do St. Louis on, yeah.
That'd be
So,
amazing.
I mean, the guy, like, look, guys, Kevin Kalish, this was his dream job, from what I understand. Like, the dude is here to stay as the Billiken head soccer coach, and I couldn't be more excited. He's, with what happened last year, I'm excited to see what he can do as far as reloading the season. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Why don't you bring us home, Zach?
Oh man, do I have to? That wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Guys, I just want to let you guys know, just kind of an update. We're heading into the end of baseball season, and at some point during the summer, we're going to switch to a summer schedule. We may do, 1-2 episodes a month. We're going to try to do some different things. Maybe, take this time to toy with some fun ideas. Maybe do an episode where we do a stolen mailbag, where we just randomly grab questions that people asked other people and answer them ourselves.
Or a
Maybe
real
do,
a real mailbag. People could we
you
could
know,
we could put out the call for real
uh,
questions and then do a
I'm
stolen
hoping,
one if it
yeah.
flops.
Well, no, we'll ask for mail, and then if we don't get any, we'll steal it and
We'll
pretend
write
that
our
we
we'll
did
write
get
our
it.
own mail.
Yeah, maybe do I've got a penchant for naming college mascots. Maybe we'll do a little fun one on that.
Yeah, there you
You
go.
know, I may let Pete interview my mom because I'm sure he has burning questions he has to know about what it was like to live with me for 18 years. Um, because I'm quite the quirky dude. We're just gonna try some weird stuff over the summer and see what sticks, and it's gonna be a lab of a podcast lab, so to speak, this summer, and hopefully we'll get a few interviews, long form, um, and maybe some weird stuff. I think we're gonna try to get. Hold on, Pete. Do we want to talk about who we have scheduled Wednesday? That we don't know when we're gonna release it, but we're gonna have
Yeah,
we're gonna talk to somebody on Wednesday.
we have it on the calendar to talk to new women's basketball head coach Rebecca Tillett, and we're really excited to talk to her. We think it's been a fascinating hire and tenure so far, and we can't wait to kind of get to know her and see what she's all about and what her vision is for SLU.
Yeah, and I think as we head into look, we tweeted out, our thanks to the baseball staff. But I think as we head into the summer months, I think we really need to acknowledge, um, you know, the athletic department doesn't have to embrace us the way they did. It's I've look, I'm passionate. I have opinions. I I am critical, hypercritical at times, just because it's the first love I've had, and it's what I believe in, and um, I get I get frustrated when things don't go right, and I can understand if there are sour feelings towards me being critical of decisions being made, and the athletic department doesn't have to embrace us like they have, and guys like Brian Kunderman, he's been a mentor to me for, uh, you know, 10 years now, almost more. Um, I can't thank him enough. Nick Reddig is new to the athletic department as a media relations for baseball and other sports. He's been super helpful in the last few weeks, getting us connected with Hendo and um, Colin Surrey and obviously Cam Redding. Katie Shields came on with us. I mean, like, again, these people don't have to come on our show. It's time out of their busy schedule. They have a hectic schedule. It's what we learned talking to Darren Hendrickson, is that this stuff is crazy, and they really appreciate what we're doing, and that means a lot to us. And I can't thank everyone enough, from Chris May, to, as much as we disagree a lot of times. I gotta thank Chris May. I gotta thank Janet Oberly, Brian Kunderman, uh, Mickey, Nick, um, the whole lot of them. We owe so much to them for allowing us whatever access we can get, and we're just trying to bring you the best content possible.
Yeah, and before we go, I also do want to give a shout out to everybody, all the student athletes who graduated this weekend. Really impressive lineup of individuals from SLU once again,
Better
becoming
GPAs than me.
sons and daughters of St. Louis University. So well done to everybody who walked this weekend. Great job. And last one for me, Zach swam, biked a triathlon this morning, and I guess it was his record time for
Yeah,
one
it
of
was a
these so far,
PB, but it was a PB.
which is a huge accomplishment, because I don't think I'll ever do one in my life, and
we'll get
he's
you here next summer
it's
for
it's
the
late on Sunday night, and he's put in a marathon effort, starting very early this morning all the way
my
through
my
here.
Apple
So
Watch says 10% on it.
yeah,
I've been
there
up
you go.
since 2 a.m.
So
So
your Apple Watch is very in tune with you. Let's get Zach some rest now. Much deserved.
thank you, Peter. And again, like, I thank the athletic department. I definitely want to thank Peter. He took a shot. This is, I mean, he took a chance, man. Like, this could have been a disaster. Pete and I have, look, throughout it's, if anybody knows Pete and I separately or together, like as podcast partners, we've not always seen eye to eye, and this is hilarious to any of them that have known us for more than 5 years. So
Bit of
it's
an odd
pretty.
couple.
We're the oddest couple of SLU fans you can find, and I absolutely appreciate everything he's done for me, and um, he's made this podcast what it is, because he brings so much actual knowledge to my chucklehead nature, and his effort following recruiting is absolutely tireless when it comes to finding random shit that nobody else does. So, I mean, the fact that you take the time to follow people on Twitter is maddening. I have no idea how you do it. So thank you, Peter. And I know this episode's run way longer than we normally do. Somehow we always end at an hour and a half. We don't actually time it out, but this one I think is going to go about 2 hours. So. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great episode, and thank you again, Cam Redding. Uh, Pete, I'm going to let you run us out on this one. Go ahead and finish us off with the final word.
We are at Zach Miller MMP Do I have that right? ZAC?
Yeah, it's on the notes, man.
I don't think
I'm
it
sorry, I
is.
didn't. Hold on, let me put it over there for you. We're gonna let Pete take us home on this one. Hold on one sec.
He had me
I'm
flying
gonna.
blind there for a minute.
Yeah, no, sorry. You were like Sully Sullivan. Go ahead.
That wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod. At Peter is a tweeter, all lowercase. At Zach. At Zach Miller, Zach with no H, no K, Miller MMP. And on Instagram, we are also at Midtown Mad Pod. Do follow us there because that's a relatively new account and we're trying to do some things there. As Zach said, it'll be a lab going forward. We also appreciate any and all suggestions you might have for the show. Please go subscribe to the show on all platforms, whatever you use. If you haven't left a review, don't be afraid to drop us a 5-star review. 4-star, don't need to be afraid there either. 3, maybe a little afraid. 2 or 1, be very afraid if you leave one of those.
We're coming for you. We know who you are.
And Zach, as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.